Hello there, everyone. Roger Connect, president of Universal Accounting Center. And today we're going to be discussing a few things with Mesheka Turner. She happens to be the owner and president, the founder of Bright Skies Business Services, LLC. And she really prides herself on helping business owners build a business that serves them, but is also profitable. So this is going to be a great discussion about what it is she's experienced as she started and built her firm. So welcome, first of all, Mesheka. This is great. I appreciate you being on with me.
Thank you so much. I'm honored that you think that I even have something of value to give.
Well, I'm sure everyone listening is going to find what it is that you have to share. And I know there's some gems in there. This is going to be wonderful. So why don't we just go ahead and do this? Let's start with your background and your history as to how you became the accountant that you are.
Okay. So first of all, sometimes I wonder how I got here. I never had a desire to work in public accounting. My background was financial accounting. Started out in undergrad, and I originally started out as a computer science major. And I thought, okay, I would love this work. I think I'm going to do this. Well, it turns out in college, I hated that work because all you were doing was sitting there coding, doing different things like that. But I felt like I had devoted so much to it that I needed to see it through. So at the college I went to, you had to have so many hours of accounting. The first accounting course, I took the first test and I made a 95 without hardly studying. And so I knew then this is something that clicked and it was something that I enjoyed. So I wrestled with it a little while, and finally I thought, okay, you have got to go down and change your major. So I went and changed my major. Luckily for me, I was able to use a lot of those computer science classes as electives towards my accounting degree. And so it was just then that I was fascinated just with the story that accounting tells. I mean, I think a lot of times, a lot of people just think, you're good with numbers. There's actually a story those numbers tell. And for some reason, that's just fascinating to me. So I started my career in corporate America. The plan is that I was going to I was going to be staff. I went through the staff accountant, senior accountant, worked my way on up to CFO. And I was on track to do that. I started helping friends and family with their businesses. And I just found that I got a joy from that like I never got in corporate America. And this is kind of how I describe it. You know how you start out with that little flicker in your belly and all of a sudden it turns into a raging inferno and you have to do something? That's why I'm sitting here with you today, because it turned into a raging inferno and I had to do something because it was just so impactful. I mean, there's just something about watching these businesses grow from nothing to something and my part in that. And then when I got introduced to Profit First, it just made it even more magical.
This is wonderful. I'm loving the story that you're sharing. I mean, you go back to that 95% that you got on the test. It's kind of like, it's a sign, it's a sign. So that's wonderful because all of a sudden it appears that you got your calling figured out, if you will. And one of the things that's quite interesting is as you moved along within the accounting career and found yourself working with businesses, you obviously had success. You were moving up that proverbial career ladder, but you talk about this little burning desire to help businesses and the passion that it can bring as you're actually impacting and influencing business owners to help them really succeed at what it is they're doing. And it's very satisfying. It's almost like a mission or a calling because all of a sudden what you're starting to share is that you're making a difference.
Absolutely. And just to give you an example so I was always kind of reluctant at first to call it a calling because it sounded kind of cliche. But as I started doing this, it started unfolding to me that this is way bigger than me. And I am called to help in this space. And so this is kind of something that happened recently that really clicked for me. I spoke with a business owner and his expenses was just over the top. I mean, that business is running about 120% with expenses. So there's some work to do. Well, one of the things that he told me that he really wanted to do was incorporate traction, that book Traction, into his business. So, you know, we talked about it and talked about things that we could do to clean things up a bit. That afternoon, I had a conversation, a sales call with a business that was already using Traction. They even had me take the personality assessment to make sure that I would even fit into what they were doing. And I just thought, okay, there's something happening here. The fact that I would meet with the business owner that morning, he tells me he wants to do Traction, gives me the book. 2 hours later, I have a sales call with someone fully implementing Traction and tell me they want someone that can help them on the profit side. And that's when it started clicking to me. There is something else going on here that's way outside of me.
That is wonderful. You know, I use the word purpose a lot of times, that you actually felt like you have now a purpose. So the word calling, purpose, it's what some people will even call a passion. It's where it all of a sudden starts to resonate inside, and you realize this is your calling, this is your purpose, this is where you're meant to make a difference and help people. And honestly, I think there's a lot of people that get a lot of satisfaction from knowing that they are making that difference, that this is something that they are uniquely capable of doing to help other people. And accounting, if you think about it, it may seem, you know, kind of mundane or monotonous, but in reality, it can make or break the company. And so what you're doing is, I think, really empowering business owners to focus on what they do best and ultimately succeed in their own company. So this is powerful. Now, one of the things that you shared there is obviously this story, and it's how you saw this opportunity present itself. Let's kind of back up a little bit, though. I want to kind of go back to the beginning where you were in the career, you were working for business. What caused you to think of going out on your own and starting your own company?
Now, that was a journey and a half. So, of course, you see this picture because I went to undergrad, went to graduate school. So you see this picture of corporate America. You see this whole, I mean, because it's kind of laid out for you. You do, you know, staff accountant, senior accountant, and you just move that way through. My husband also had saw that picture because he supported the CFO level. That's what he supported. So of course, when I started thinking about it, it was, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was so heavy. I was just like, you know, where's your good sense? Get your butt back over there where you need to be and stay focused on that. But it just kept popping up on my mind. And originally I thought, well, maybe I could do this part-time, and then you kind of see that doesn't work. And it finally got to a point where I did invest in some programs to kind of help me do this for real. And as I seen that I could really do it for real, it was gasoline for that fire that was already burning. And so I thought, okay, what if you can do this and you can still get all of that stuff that you were going to get from that CFO track and more, because you're helping people in a very direct, impactful way. And so, you know, I was still struggling with it. And finally, it came to the point, because I actually started my business before I quit my job, I was able to save a little money. And so I finally talked to my husband, and this is what I said. I said, I have 6 months of pay. I believe if I can give this my all for 6 months, I believe that I can make this happen. Not only that, I was like, if it doesn't work out, I still have my education, I still have my experience. I can even go back to my same company I'm working for. But it came to a feeling where I could live with failure, but I couldn't live with regret. I mean, and that's the way I felt about it, is no matter what happens to this business, if it don't work out, I can live with that. But I cannot live with should I, could I, would I. I could not live with it. And that's how I came to this decision. And my husband, he slowly came on board, but
slowly.
But he slowly came on board because he didn't see the vision that I saw, and he didn't feel that passion like I felt. And as it slowly started to unfolding, he kind of started feeling that passion, and he kind of started getting a glimpse of what I saw. And then he said, okay, he said, do you really think you can do it? I said, I really think I can do it. And part of that was because I had something of value, especially with Profit First, to offer. So I knew that I could help people just by even doing it part-time. I knew if I could take everything else off of me and just focus on this, I knew I could do it. And so
Well,
that's kind of my story.
Well, I can definitely tell you that for many listening, this is just going to be a huge kind of a mind-blowing experience. Hearing you say that for life, there are things that we can go through and accept as failures, but we can't accept regret. That is just one of those things that's looming over us as we all grow older, is the regrets of the woulda, coulda, shouldas. And what we want to do is recognize that you face that same opportunity or challenge or a moment where you had to make that decision of, am I going to do this or not? Now, fortunately, you actually accepted, I'm going to take this and make it happen and not have regret. And one of the things I'd share with that is, one of the things that we do a lot in our coaching is we talk about regret. And one of the things that I always bring up is a study that's been done numerous times with people on deathbeds as to what are some of the things that they're struggling or dealing with. And I think everybody's familiar with the first thing, and it's that they wish they would have spent more time with family, and that they would have been home more and done more with the people they love. But the second most common thing that they express is regret not having done specific things. And it's the regret of, I wish I could have, I wish I would have. And you're obviously not going to be dealing with that because you went into it both feet and really made this happen. And fortunately, you had that support of your loving husband that was willing to step in there and really give you that encouragement, but also support to move forward. So this is wonderful. I think everyone really appreciates that part of your story, just because I think we're all personally able to relate to it. So that's great. So here's the next question. What advice would you give to someone who may be in that stage of starting out, whether they are looking at doing this part-time as a supplemental income, getting a handful of clients, or doing like you did and going into this full-time? What advice would you give to someone that's in that stage of their business?
So I think the main thing I would say is start out part-time in it, because this is the thing. This kind of work is very different from corporate accounting. It's even different from big public accounting. So find out if this is even going to be something that you want to do, because like I say, this looks very different from that. Also, there's this idea of if you build it, they will come. It doesn't work like that. So you also need to have the marketing. You need to have there's a lot of things that they call it small business, but it's huge to the owner, because there is a lot of things that has to happen to make this work. So I would say also, be thinking about that too. Thinking about, how are you going to get your clients? Where are they going to come from? And you may have to invest with all of that. And that's the good thing about, doing it part-time. That job becomes an investor in your future. So that's kind of the way I looked at it. So, start taking it slow, thinking about what you want to do. Think about, what's going to be your unique value proposition, because words like that are not even in everyday conversation. So it was, as I became an entrepreneur, I had to start thinking about ways that I never thought about in corporate America. I mean, unique value proposition and things like that. You just like, that doesn't mean anything to you in the corporate world. So thinking about all of that, thinking about how you're going to make this work with the money. And then this is one of the things that I'm very passionate about. I believe if you're going to create a job for yourself, you should have all of the benefits you had when someone else gave you a job. So I didn't want to just quit my job and start from scratch. I was also thinking about, retirement, thinking about all of those things and how I was going to give myself those things as a business owner. Because like I say, who creates a job for themselves with no benefits? So I think, thinking about that. And that was one of the things that Profit First helped me do also, was, how I was going to do that, because that was one of the things I was initially concerned about, is when the money comes in, how do I pay myself? How do I do this? How do I work, taxes, all the things that any other business owner deals with. Even though you're in the accounting space, it's real to us too. And we have to have a strategy to deal with it.
I love what you're sharing there. So there's a few things that I took from that. First of all, don't be afraid to do this part-time first before going full-time. I agree. So many of the people I work with, they have that day job and they supplement it on nights and weekends with a handful of clients. And comfortably, from a part-time point of view, you can get up to about 5 to 7 clients and take care of their needs. But your second point, I think, was huge. This is different than corporate accounting. In corporate accounting, you perhaps are in a large organization. There's an accounting department. You're one of many people dealing with the financial sets of books. But when you work for a small business, you're everything and everyone. You're doing everything from the chart of accounts to preparing the financial reports. You're actually doing the analysis. You're handling the payables, the receivables, perhaps the payroll. You're dealing with things such as cash flow. And rather than there being a department, it's you. And so you do take on a great deal of responsibility for your clients, because to them, you're everything, you're everyone. And so that's huge. And then the third thing that I point out is your comment about marketing is huge. When you're an accountant and an accounting professional working in business, it's just the accounting that you're responsible for. But when you're your own boss, your own business, yes, you're right. You have to go out there and focus on wearing all these various marketing hats, sales hats, and so forth, because you're perhaps the best accountant in the world, but unless you have clients, it doesn't matter. You need to have people paying you for your services. The fact that you're wonderful at what you do and you have no clients, that doesn't help. So we want to be able to put on that marketing hat and go out and acquire clients. And your point of the unique selling position or proposition, yeah, when you're out there telling your story as to why someone ought to consider your services, you've got to have something that resonates with them as to why you're unique, why you're special, why you're different than the other accounting professionals. And so that's wonderful advice. This is just beautiful. So with all that said, let's talk about then Profit First. For a few moments there, you were bringing up Profit First and how that really helped you differentiate your services and perhaps empower you to offer more services to your clients. So let's talk first of all about what is Profit First. What is that?
So what I like to call it is a bridge between bank balance accounting and financial statements, because one of the things that I'm finding is a lot of times when accountants give business owners financial statements, they say, okay, thanks, but they can't really make decisions from them. So a lot of what they're already doing is bank balance accounting. And so what Profit First says is, let's take your financial statements and we can see the breakdown of your expenses, what you're paying yourself, taxes. Then we can incorporate a system in there to manage cash, but manage all those areas of business: profit, owner's pay, taxes, and expenses, because those are the areas of the business breakdown.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is powerful about Profit First is, and it's their theme, it's to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. It's really to say in business, what can be done to make profit deliberate and intentional, rather than this afterthought where we're wondering, were we in fact profitable? Did we actually make money? And really, when you're in business, you don't want to leave that to chance. And so what Profit does is it really flips on its edge the old formula of sales minus expenses equals profit. And it says sales minus profit. Let's take that out first. This is why we're in business. And then with what's left over equals what we can pay the expenses. So this is, I think, a huge thing. So obviously you embraced Profit First and you brought it into your practice as one of the services you're providing your clients. How has that made a difference for you? How has it helped?
So it's helped tremendously. So first off, as far as my own personal expenses, even though I didn't know I was doing Profit First, even when I had a job since the beginning of time, I've always been one of these people that had an account for my car. I had an account for vacations. I had an account. So I didn't even realize I was doing that. And so my sister would be like, how do you always have money for this? And I'm like, I don't. I know myself. I go ahead and just have it deducted from my paycheck over to that account, and I leave it there. So it's not so much as just me having these tons of money. It's just that I would take off what was important to me off the top, and then what was left, I learned to live on. And so, and that's just the way I always did it with my retirement account, with my savings. I just took it off the top and lived on the rest of it. So when I saw Profit First for Business, it was very natural. So when I first read the book, even long before I became certified, it was very natural to me. I saw it immediately. It clicked how this could work in business because I was already doing it in my personal finances. So to bring Profit First into my business and to have, a burgeon in my personal finances, it just brought it all together for me. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's really what gave me the urge, like I said earlier, what let me know that I could quit my job, because one of the things that we always hear people talk about for entrepreneurs is taxes and different things, having all of these responsibilities. Well, it was just like how when I had a job, it let me see how I could take care of the things that needed to be taken care of, but I could still take care of me. And so, like I say, the two coming together was just powerful for me. And one of the things that, like I say, that really bothers me, and I am, I really do want to eradicate entrepreneur poverty, is I'm seeing people put their time, their money, their relationships into this, and it's not giving them anything in return. And to me, that is heartbreaking to see someone put so much into a business and they don't even like it anymore. So this is what I think about. You ever saw that movie, Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of how I think of these businesses sometimes. Sometimes they're like that blood-sucking plant, and the poor business owner is poor Seymour. And his fingers are all pricked up and they have nothing else to give, but that blood-sucking plant is still wanting more. If I can help it, I want no one to look at their business like that. And so being able to structure everything out, being able to get some control of the expenses, and me playing a part in that by helping them implement Profit First, I am happy to do it.
That is wonderful. Yeah, one of the things I was thinking is we're going to break out into song here and sing Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
So this is great because you know what? For so many business owners, I think that's the analogy. They have okay, so that is wonderful because obviously what I heard you share is that when you found Profit First, it took what you already personally knew as part of your personality, your way of doing business. Or living your life applied to now how you were doing business. And so it was that grand marriage that you were able to bring in. And now you get to take it out to the business owners and help them see that there's a better, more efficient, effective way of doing this. This is great. This is wonderful. Now, here's the question that I think some people are wanting to ask. Imagine that you're talking to yourself today. You're in an established firm. You have clients. You're working with business owners. Why would someone want to look at Profit First from the standpoint of what's it going to bring to the firm that they maybe don't have now, offering just traditional accounting services?
Well, one of the things that it's going to bring to the firm is going to give more value to what you're already doing. So this is the thing. We can talk about all of these fancy things that we can do for people. We can talk about our fancy credentials. Business owners care about profitability and money. That's what they, and that's just what it is, and so if they're giving their all to something and it's giving them no money, if you come up with a way to show them how to get out of that, that's huge to them. That's huge to them. And the reason why I like it is because, first of all, Profit First does not work if you're not doing bookkeeping, if you're not doing the things that let you know what the business is doing as far as expenses, all of it. So it really marries that process of the bank balance and the financial statement. So that's one of the reasons how people are even finding me is they say, I've been doing it this way for 10 years. I've been doing this, and one of the things that's very frustrating is that I'm running across a lot is people saying that I'm making more money than ever, but I'm broker than ever. So the fact that I can analyze it and help them kind of find out where the wheels fell off the bus, so to speak, and, you know, turn that around for something that serves them. And, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, but the fact that they can see the fact that they can see their way out of it. I mean, that's why I get so much joy from. And then what's really crazy to me is there are a lot of people in the accounting world who thinks this is fad and this is not something that's going to work for business owners, whatever. But this is the thing. If you are helping them have more money than ever before, if you are helping them not be delinquent in their taxes, not having to worry about their taxes, why would they see this as a fad and something of no value? When I hear that school of thought, I'm like, okay, they're being served in a way like never before. And I mean, I actually kind of feel like the accounting industry has kind of let the small business owner down in some way, because we're giving them these cash flow statements, we're giving them all of these financials, and they can't really make decisions from them. And I really feel like the small business owner has been let down in a lot of ways by the industry. You know, if somebody leaves your office and they look confused and they're still as frustrated as they was when they walked in, there's a problem with that for me. That's a big problem, you know, because they're looking at you as an advisor. And if they're leaving there with that pit in their stomach of frustration, why are we doing more to help them? And that's just something that I'm very passionate about that. I'm very passionate about that.
Mesheka, I think what you're sharing there is huge, because I think it really is a testament to how the accounting profession is or should be changing, because it's not just enough to provide the business owner with the financial reports and say, here's the historical, here's what's happened, and then move on. What we need to be doing is recognizing that these business owners, as you said, need advisors as to how to now take those numbers that they have and manage them more effectively, so that they have the money set aside to pay the taxes, so that they have the money set aside to pay themselves, so that they have the money set aside to take care of the expenses. And it's more intelligently running the business with your help, so that you can actually give them the tools they need to see what's going on with their with their cash flow. So this is huge. This is wonderful. So thank you. So now, one of the things I want to ask is, I think the next question from what you were sharing, which is, so where do you see the accounting profession going in the coming years?
Well, first of all, on the bookkeeping side, it's becoming more and more automated. And as it becomes more and more automated, I feel like it's going to be seen as not as valuable. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like now is the time to go into a more consultant role. And it's not even so much about keeping a job, but you're also going into that role because that's what business owners need. That's what they need. I mean, I think that they would gladly pay you to help guide them into profitability rather than being on some robo type bookkeeping. I mean, because I am seeing that a lot, you know, where you pay $99 a month but this is the thing. I don't care if you're paying 50 cents a month. If your business is bleeding, excuse me, I'm a little country, but I'm gonna say this. If your business is bleeding cash like a stuck hog, how is 50 cents a month bookkeeping gonna help you? So
you're just telling it like it is. That's all you're doing.
I mean, seriously though, you know, and so I think it's just, okay, the value is not in the bookkeeping itself. The value is telling the story of what these numbers, or I'm sorry, interpreting the story that these numbers are telling you. That's basically what I'm thinking about. I think another thing too is that's going to change is I think it was kind of a staunch way of looking at things, you know, as far as just giving people reports and sending them on their way. I think business owners are becoming more savvy too. And, you know, they may have failed for it at one time, but I think now they see, no, I need more than this. I need more than to leave this office feeling frustrated, because there are more options for them. So I feel like that's definitely going to change the industry as a whole, is to focus on the things that really matter to the business owner and not the things that matter to us. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we value as accountants, especially in the public sector. We are here to serve the clients and serve them in a way that's actually adding value to their lives.
So what I love about what you're doing here is, as you look forward in the accounting profession, you're looking at the value add. It's not just providing them these reports, because I think the next question that these business owners are now more and more often asking is, now what? Now what? And as an advisor, one of the things that Profit First enables you to do is confidently, comfortably offer them advice, because you've been trained and certified as to how to interact with that business owner as an advisor, as their trusted consultant. And one of the things that Profit First does is it empowers you to comfortably have that kind of a relationship with your client. And the beauty of it is, because it is beyond the bookkeeping, beyond the accounting services, you're paid for this additional advice. You're paid as you are, as someone more than just that bookkeeper or an accountant. You're that next level up, providing value-added services. So this is wonderful. So what I want to do here is just ask, what piece of advice would you give either to your older self, or younger in this case, or what advice would you give to those that are listening? What final thoughts would you have?
So I think the final thought that I would have is really focus on ways of adding value for your clients. I mean, because that's what's going to keep them coming back, and that's what's going to draw people to you, is adding value. And so one of the things that's really helping me is, for some reason, I'm one of the only ones here in Nashville that's doing Profit First. I don't know why, especially when it's changing businesses all over the world. But that's another story. But really think about ways to add value. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes when I go home at night and I have like a particularly tough case, I'm thinking about, what if we did this? What if we did that? But just really think about ways that you can add value and, and get them what they need. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep you, that's what's going to keep your job, is them having cash and you giving them something of real value.
That is just beautiful. So here's one of the things that I think really is needing to be said, is you spend so much time in your sales and marketing to find the client and get the engagement. What we really need to be doing is also putting that much effort into retaining the client. The lifetime value of an accounting client is actually 7 years. So if you find yourself getting clients and then losing them after 6, 9, 12, 18 months, it begs the question, what more services or what better relationship should you be having with your clients to keep them longer? The other thing I'd also stress is the fact that when you're actually doing the right work, they're not seeing you as that necessary evil that I have to be in business. They start to see you as an asset, someone that is helping them run their business more effectively and more profitably. And that's the key. So this is wonderful advice. I love what you've shared. So as we wrap this up, let me just mention to the listeners and everyone that's here with us today, there are two things that I heard that we want to go ahead and just emphasize. First of all, Profit First. If you've not read the book by Mike Michalowicz, I'll go ahead and put a link in here so that you can actually see where you can get a copy of that. The second thing is related to it is a book called In the Black. And so that is 9 principles to make your business profitable. So I'll go ahead and provide a link for it as well. But lastly, one of the things that you may be interested in doing is, as Mesheka was mentioning, is becoming a Profit First professional. And so I'll put some information there as well as to where you can go to become a Profit First professional. This is a wonderful presentation or discussion. I think this was just perfect for what people needed to hear about what they can do to become more engaged with their clients and be more passionate about the work they do. So Mesheka, thank you for sharing your thoughts. This has been wonderful. Thank you. And if
No
you
problem. Thank you. I'm glad that I have something of value to give to your listeners.
You're very kind. Well, with all that said, just remember this. If it's about accounting, it's universal. So everybody take care. Have a wonderful day. And thank you, Mesheka, for being on. And you just have a wonderful time there in Nashville. This is great.
Thank you.